Section 2A that made Kenya a multi-party democracy. I raise Article 4 and the inherent right of the people of Kenya to have a government and have an opposition that holds the government of the day to account in order that the people have government. It is terrible and beyond disbelief that the Jay-Z generation had to come and do the work of the opposition. There is no country that can call itself a democratic state that need its citizens who have elected them in order to hold the government to account, to subjugate that responsibility to the people. Why I raise this issue is because as today I want to talk in the strongest terms possible against Raila Odinga and the Azimio Party. The people who are now holding Ruto afloat in this ocean of despair is none other than Raila Amolo Odinga. And today I want to give a synopsis before I deal with Raila. And I
Hey, Marge, what is happening?
Did you lose Tony? Tony, did we lose you?
Can't even.
No, I think they're trying to mess up the network when Tony started mentioning Raila. Tony, can you hear us?
He's not even here. All right.
I mean, that's fine. Deal with him.
Yeah. When Tony is out, I think I can chime in. Tony is there.
Okay, go ahead.
Tony is
Go ahead,
there.
General.
Probably can come back and finish his statement.
Okay. Marge, can you hear?
Yes, General, we can hear you. I mean, you're saying that you want to go ahead before Tony so that Tony comes afterwards, which is fine. General, please go ahead.
Okay. Well, it would have been good if his thoughts were not truncated, but it is what it is. I will start by condoling with the many families that have lost loved ones and the many families that have missed or people who have been disappeared. And I would want to caution us, all of us, that we should not buy into state propaganda. The media does not belong, the mainstream media does not belong to the people, the 54 million, 55 million Kenyans. So we do not have to rely on the mainstream media to validate the fact that we have missing people. We should not rely on the state to validate the numbers of those that they have killed. I would want us to be careful not to fall into the trap of the state propaganda. That we must have quote-unquote families complaining about missed ones, missing people, before we can say that there are missing people. We have to appreciate that there are a lot of families that are not closely knit. There are a lot of young people that are not in contact with their families on a daily basis. There are a lot of young people that came from rural areas and are trying to struggle in the cities or urban centers, and their parents or their relatives do not necessarily have phones to reach them. And you cannot reach a dead person. You cannot reach a disappeared person. You cannot reach an abducted person. You cannot reach a person who is decomposing in a swamp, or people who may have been cremated. So let's not be so quick to dismiss information or leads that we receive from sources. Because when you are in war, the state will try to diminish the number of people they have killed, the number of people they have abducted. They will try to distort and provide misinformation. If we are so quick to attack one another when we are sharing information, and are so quick to fortify the propaganda by the state, then we have lost it. Then we are not part of the revolution. Our work as revolutionaries is to highlight the atrocities of the state, is to highlight the excesses of the state, is to trumpet our the values for which we are struggling. It's not to minimize our voices. It's not to fight one another. Number two, I want us to be careful of ownership of this movement or revolution. The revolution does not belong to anyone. It does not belong to any generation. It does not belong to any gender. It does not belong to any tribe. It does not belong to any party. It does not belong to any age group or group of friends. The struggle that Kenyans have been involved in against imperialism, against these puppets propped up by their controllers abroad, the IMF, the World Bank, the CIA, whatever, is a collective exercise. It's a collective movement. It's a collective revolution. If the Gen Zs and the millennials were the only ones on the street, they would not be able to succeed. We must support one another. We must make this a completely holistic and organic revolution. It must involve all age groups. In as much as the majority of the population are Gen Zs and the millennials are the ones that are mainly on the street, we cannot keep away. We cannot keep away because we are in Mombasa, we are in Kisumu, we are in New York, we are wherever. We have to remember that during the South African revolution against apartheid, during the movement against apartheid, most of the fighters were trained in Tanzania. They were not trained in South Africa. Their leaders were in London. They were not in Johannesburg. And so were all revolutionaries in the world. Lenin did not start his revolution to Russia from Russia. Marx never lived in Russia. Che Guevara was not a Cuban. We have to always remember that anytime these people bring atomization, parochialism, distortions and diversions, the moment they ask you, where are you? All these voices are NIS. Because why should it matter where we are? Why do you want me to declare where I am? Unless you are coming to abduct me. Why is that your interest? We have to resist all attempts to divert us. The third point I wanted to make. Ruto is weak. Ruto is cornered. And when I say Ruto, I mean the regime. The regime is weak. The regime is cornered. The regime is desperate. The regime does not have any more tricks. The trickery of so-called dissolving the cabinet is nothing but that, a trick. Because are you in control of who is going to appoint? No. Can you guarantee that the people is going to appoint would serve the public interest? No. Can you guarantee that these people will be qualified? No. Can you guarantee that these people will not loot public resources? No. Can you guarantee that these people will not perpetuate impunity? No. So then, why would you say that he has done anything? He has done absolutely nothing. And as we said, the problem starts at the top. As they say, from where I was born, fish rots from the head. This fish is rotten. The rot was not at the cabinet level. The rot sits at State House. The rot chairs the cabinet. The rot is the commander-in-chief of the goons that are executing people on the street. The rot leads the looters that were distributing money every weekend in sacks. So therefore, if you don't replace the rot with all its miasma, whatever it is that you want to call it, it will regroup. It will grow again, and it will perpetuate a more vicious system of elimination, system of abduction, system of looting than the previous one. We cannot let Ruto escape now. As Buka correctly said, attacks on the regime, any attempt to divert us, like ODM and the rest have been doing, is counter-revolutionary. Is an attempt to subvert, to sabotage the revolution. Is to try to abort it, like they have always done. This is what they did in 1969. This is what they did in 1992 when the Section 2A was repealed. This is what they did in 2002 after the defeat of Kibaki during the absolutely nothing. We must understand this in its correct history. The only thing they understand is to exploit it.
Okay.
I'm finished.
Thank you. Thank you.
The scaremongering that there will be a
to read Article 4 of the Constitution and hold to account the opposition as much as you hold the government. And the next time we have this change, we must know that we elected a bad executive and we elected a bad opposition. They have failed at their job and therefore they are making the people have to do their work for them. But now, in order now to know the pressure point for Zakayo, you must understand his history. Now, William Ruto initially, when he was only 26, became the co-founder of the organization of the organizing secretary of the infamous Youth for KANU 92. That was a lobby group that was key upon looting the economy of Kenya then, but also used to fund terror groups that intimidated those that were not with Moi or what was called as the Nyayo era. This is when, by the way, Ruto began to accumulate skills of terror and wealth accumulation. And in fact, at that time, people will remember the Moi regime would not hesitate to detain without trial, abductions, and murder. So the blueprints or the architecture of the KANU regime, where William Ruto began his politics, is the architecture that he's practicing today. Kenyans forget and need to be reminded, particularly Jay-Z, that in 2011, William Ruto, who had been suspended as Minister of Higher Education, Science and Technology over integrity issues by Mwai Kibaki, was summoned to appear on the 8th of March at the ICC at The Hague, charged with crimes on the post-election violence in Kenya. It's important to understand why William Ruto went to The Hague and what were the charges. The charges that William Ruto faced at the ICC when he was arraigned were crimes against humanity, murder, deportation, and the forceful transfer of a population and their persecution. And William Ruto did not go to The Hague for nothing. William Ruto went to The Hague for something. But what will fascinate Kenyans is who actually asked The Hague to drag William Ruto there. It was ODM. The Orange Democratic Movement Secretary General, Professor Anyang' Nyong'o, when I was press secretary to Raila Odinga during the 90s, is the one who wrote a letter to the prosecutor at The Hague, asking and detailing the crimes committed by William Samoei Ruto, that Ruto cannot escape charges of crimes against humanity. I find it the height of hypocrisy that Raila Odinga, who sent Ruto to The Hague for crimes against Kenyans, crimes against humanity, is the man who wants to remove William Ruto from the ocean where he's sinking. I'm raising this issue because the way forward and the pressure points that are here is that you must take William Ruto and Raila Odinga as siblings. You must take them as one. Because it seems today that all the other organs, including the cabinet, have gone. And the only thing and the only man holding Zakayo in office is Raila Amolo Odinga. I want to be as clear as possible. The only person holding Zakayo to office over the promise of dialogue and a government of national unity is no other than Raila Amolo Odinga. So I want to be very clear today to Agwambo. And I want him to know that this is not General Miguna, because Miguna knows how to deal with you in a better way than me. But I know you, Raila. And I know your history with William Ruto.
But Gashoga, if you want to address Raila Amolo Odinga on a personal note, I think that you can do directly even on your handle. We accept that you're bringing in...
Marge, I think you should let him finish.
Yes, but we know, because even...
No, Raila is bigger than a person, right? When
yes.
he says Raila, we know what it means. So
Dr. Miguna, please, kindly just allow us to host this space. What I'm trying to say is that we do not want to have personal attacks. We do not want to be used to address other people. If he is here to mention the things that like he had done before, it was okay to say this and this, and I'm not trying to censor you. I'm just trying to say personal messages to other people, they can be sent out there. People can use their...
Marge, let Tony finish his
yes,
message.
he's going to finish, but we want to really, I want to underline that that this is not a space to do that. Tony, over to you.
In order to say that what I'm saying is correct, Kenya found a BBI bill that was championed by Uhuru Kenyatta and Raila Odinga. The High Court, in fact 5 judges of the High Court, found under Article 257 that the matter was not people-driven. Justice Joel Ngugi Judge of the High Court, Justice George Oguda, Justice Nyaga, Justice Madheka, and so forth. So I'm telling Marge that what I'm discussing about a people-driven matter has gone before the courts. BBI was stopped because it did not have or seek public participation. I'm a journalist who understands very clearly the rules of journalism and that opinion is free but facts are sacred. And I saw a press conference where the ODM and later Raila Odinga said that they want to have dialogue and a discussion with Zakayo on behalf of the people of Kenya, that they are going to convene. And what the BBI ruling said, the president or Raila could not initiate the people-driven.
Did we lose Tony again? Can someone hear him?
No, I cannot hear him.
No, I cannot hear him as well.
But
Yeah,
may I request, Hillary, may I request that we give the chance to Peter Maina? He's logging in from China, so his time zone is really, I think he's up in the night. And I just want to reiterate that this really applies to everyone, even for all our speakers here. When somebody comes to attack them personally, we will push back. But when they're coming to challenge their ideas, we are okay with it. Peter Maina,
Can I say something?
Yes, please.
I strongly disagree with that statement. We cannot separate Ruto from Ruto the president and Ruto the person. It's one and the same thing. So when we say Ruto, we mean exactly Ruto. We mean Ruto personally, and we mean Ruto as the president. When we discuss his history, we discuss his history personally, and we discuss his history politically. The same thing must apply to Raila Odinga. We must allow everybody else to speak freely, even if you deem that that is personal attack, because Raila is both a person, a leader of a political party, and a symbol for something. We can't muzzle anyone in a revolution. So let people speak. When they are speaking about these enemies of the people, they must be allowed to speak freely and fully.
Thank you very much, General. Your point is made. General, and like you said, Peter Maina, please, you have the microphone. Thanks.
Hello, gentlemen. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. As Marge said, my name is Peter. I'm in Hong Kong. I need to clarify, I'm in Hong Kong, although Hong Kong is part of China. I appreciate the mic. Thank you very much. Let me start by saying that I would like, first of all, to send my condolences to the comrades who have lost their lives fighting for Kenya. We should honor them and we should appreciate them for their sacrifices. Having said that, I would like to congratulate the Kenyans and tell them that whatever that you guys are doing, even if we are not there, we support you, we will support you, we are with you together, and we are going to achieve our objective. So let me say that Marge, today I have time, so don't worry that today about the time. Today I have enough time, so I'll be here all through. I would like to give the general time and Tony Gachoka time. Let's give them time. They give us the context and also they encourage us and advise us on the way we can move forward. Because I think it is very important that we understand the people that we are trying to fight with or we are trying to remove from power and their supporters and their backers. So as Tony Gachoka was trying to explain, I think it is very important that we understand the context so that when we engage them, we know where we know how we are engaging and how they play their game. Because you see, politics is a game. And what they are doing now to call for dialogue, the dialogue is not a real dialogue as they want, as they are telling us. They are trying to, Ruto is trying to buy time. And when they are trying to buy time, we should not give them. So it is very important that we are able to face them and do our thing without getting distracted. So I have time. Thank you very much. Let me give back the mic. I'll talk as we move on forward. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, man. Umaja to come in. Daktari, can you ask because I see you drop, come back. I don't know if people are dropping, coming back. Are you the speaker?
I can hear you, and I wanted to tell you that Barack Muruka is actually waiting to be.
Yeah, I'm looking for him.
He's
Okay.
right
I've
here.
just added him.
Now,
I'm adding him
He's
now.
here.
I can hear you loud and clear.
all right. We have added already. Okay, Mark, go ahead.
So I think Dr. Barak is now on. Just take the mic if you're ready, and then we go to Tabitha.
Spot on. Thank you very much. My name is Barack Luka, and I am speaking from Nairobi. Thank you very much for the opportunity to be part of this forum. My first time to say anything on the platform. I have previously listened and followed the conversations very closely, and I congratulate those who have convened on this platform. I also wish to associate myself with the sentiments that have been expressed with regard to those who have lost their lives, those who have been injured, those with broken bones, and who have been maimed in different ways. And that speaks to the kind of state that we are engaged with. And I'd like to we are right here in Nairobi, as it were in the eye of the needle, at the center of the theater where the rubber meets the road. And so we see it and feel it in a very practical sense. That does not mean in any way that we diminish the collectivity of the effort to vary the situation in our country and make ourselves a better country. As I said in an article which maybe some of you have read in today's press, we are living in very exciting times, and I think that we are on the cusp of a revolution. As a matter of fact, I first spoke about this about 2 years ago in July 2022, when I cautioned all those who would aspire to lead that the way ahead was not going to be a bed of roses, and if there were any Thomases, they can now see where we are, and they can confirm that this is not a picnic. As I listen to us over the past couple of weeks, I have advised myself that there is need for us to draw some very clear demarcations between a revolution and a change of guard. I see that we tend sometimes to focus, as we talk about the next pressure points, about the removal of the custodians of a system. And as a student of political science and history, I advise myself that there is a wide path between a change of guard and a revolution. A change of guard without attempting to be patronizing, really, is when we remove the custodian who is there for the time being and bring in different custodians without addressing the fundamentals of the pillars that hold the system in place. I see that as Kenyan people, we have had very many false dawns, and Dr. Miguna has taken us through a chronology of turning points when our history has failed to turn. My interpretation as a student of politics, history, and international relations is that during all those vantage points that Dr. Miguna talks about, we have attempted to remove
the custodians of the system, the gatekeepers, without varying the system itself. And therefore, as we go forward, I do agree that William Samoei Ruto is the custodian, is the person that we are addressing just now. But we must go beyond the person called William Samoei Ruto. We must clearly define what we want. And I think that the Gen Zs have been spot on. They have mentioned the changes that they want to see, so that they start leading us towards the kind of country that we want. Yet I see that even those, as they are put together and pushed through, if they will not necessarily amount into a revolution. They could be piecemeal changes within the same existing system. I see that members of the political class are regrouping, and that starting tomorrow we will have the custodians of the system coming together in a rehashed and choreographed kind of dialogical arrangement, at the end of which things which they have already pre-concluded will be cast before the nation as the outcomes of that so-called dialogue. And basically it is protection of the status quo which we must be conscious of, and which we need to stand up against. Now, as we say that, therefore, we have got to ask ourselves what our methods are going to be. I think the first speaker, I'm not so sure who she was, I found her going on, spoke about the need for non-violence. And I do think that the non-violent approach was the defining methodological departure from the earlier efforts, and it's been able to move us very significantly. When we say that such and such a date is going to be the 0 hour, it's going to be the moment that the guillotine will come down, I would urge us to speak a lot more about the methods that will make that happen, rather than the characterization of the villains. We already know about the villains, and that is why we are engaging against them. And if more of our energy would go towards saying, so this is what we must do, and attempt to break it down, I'm afraid I will not pretend that I have got any fast and high answers on what needs to be done. But I also know when you have a formula that is working, you tend to continue to apply that formula. So you may think about other formulas. We have been occupying spaces, and we want to talk a lot more about occupying more space in a non-violent manner, barring which we would be talking about engaging as militias, and I doubt that that is the path that we want to engage with, certainly not for the time being, in my view. And so what do we do to mobilize more people to come out if we are talking about revolution, and also defining very clearly that as we talk about a revolution, because for me, as a student of revolutions in world history, and there I can claim the right to speak ex cathedra, because it's one of my areas of study and specialization. I understand revolutions in world history, and I would know that if you just substitute one individual with another like we do in football, then you have not carried through a revolution. We must talk about a systemic change, and we must define the system that we want, and we must define the kind of leadership that we want, and we must define the kind of country that we want. And then we must also define probable and possible timelines. Then we can talk as a country, as Kenyans, as patriots, that we are pushing towards a revolution and that we are edging in to the expected outcomes. And so therefore, finally, because I intend to keep my remarks fairly brief, we do well to recognize just two things that I want to conclude with. Number one, and I think it was Dr. Miguna who spoke about that, Gen Z must become a spirit rather than a physical, temporal persons and groups in terms of age. Yes, the age factor has been important because this is a demographic that has galvanized the nation into action, but it must spread beyond that to become a spirit and to become a movement of like-minded persons, regardless of what are the descriptors and defining and limiting factors there could be about their identity. Let it be a spirit, let it be a movement that brings all and everybody who is like-minded on board. And B, within final, is that I appreciate this notion of leaderless. Yes, I agree very much with the notion of tribeless, partyless, but I doubt that I could subscribe for too long on the notion of leaderless. I have studied revolutions in world history. I know, for example, that one of the reasons the 1848 revolutions in Europe failed was absence of clear leadership and absence of organization from France to Italy to Prussia and to other places where the revolutionaries attempted to put their act together. And in Africa, we have had failed quasi-revolutions because they have lacked a proper organization and leadership, and in the end they have been hijacked by marauding vultures who have then gone on to perpetuate the systems that the people were trying to overthrow. So allow me to just limit my remarks for now to that so that we can also listen to wisdom from others. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Dr. Neto, do you want to chime in before Tabitha comes in? And I see Buka is raising his hand.
Yes, I have a few reactions.
Over to you. Go on, Buka.
Thank you. I've just been summing up some of the contribution of my fellow panelists, but just to contextualize them, I think there are three important things that if we do not do, then the chances of success are very limited. One, and it's that we must understand the enemy clearly. In fact, if we understand the enemy clearly, then we can define tactics and strategy to defeat the enemy. So this is important. And then what do we want to achieve? In our correct analysis, the enemy is a group of individuals, and they are a minority that consistently get support from certain foreign interests to impose policies upon the Kenyan people that are alien to the majority of those people, that are alien to the majority of the Kenyan people. That means President William Samoei Ruto is a representation of a class, a parasitic class that are rich, corrupt, but they do not produce anything. Now, once we classify the people in this country that act as conveyor belt for the international, imperialism, particularly now that people are even conscious about IMF and World Bank, IMF will not